guys, welcome back to another episode of Elderwood Games. Thomas here, and today we're talking all about the Balance Dataslate, the updates to Warhammer 40,000. What do you guys think about some of these changes? And did your army benefit? Did it not? We're going to kind of talk about some of my thoughts on some of the changes today, and maybe a little bit of like some hobbying updates. So let's kind of get into it. I think the biggest surprise was the removal of challenger cards. So if you look at the chapter approved tournament companion, the new updated version that's on Warhammer Community in the download section now, you will see that now not only are twists not used in tournaments, now challenger cards have also been removed from tournaments. And I'm interested to know what you guys think about this. I am on the fence because I think that the challenger cards are actually a very useful and beneficial part of the game in order to keep games closer so they feel a bit more at stake for the entirety of the game. And it also makes the player that is the underdog kind of feel like they might be able to, at the very least, catch up, if not potentially win. And I do understand, I understand people's points here, right? That's potentially 12 extra points. That's, it can cause some feel bads as well when someone can just sort of come in almost seemingly out of nowhere and be able to win a game. I think from a gameplay perspective, it's the wrong move. I think they should have kept them. And I actually liked what Warstrom Gaming actually said, is that it actually should be tied to either your primary score or your secondary score. So basically right now, challenger card kind of just floats and it just is tacked on in addition to those scores. But I think if it was restricted to have to tie into one of those two things, so it would effectively limit your scores in those by a certain amount, I personally think that primary might be the better one to use there, just because usually if you're the underdog, it's due to primary, not necessarily secondary. Or having it just be like, you can't, like the challenger points you get have to fit in one of those two, something along those lines, where it's still useful. And now it feels weird because a lot of the cards in the deck are actually balanced with challenger cards in mind. So it's kind of like you can technically get a perfect game through just primary and secondaries alone, but if you're behind, you're having to, I don't know, I just don't think it was the right move, but that's where we are now, and that's where we're going to be probably until the end of the edition. But obviously with the Balanced Data Slates, there's usually a lot of changes. This one actually had quite a few points adjustments, very few actual core rules updates, which I'm a fan of. Really the main one that I found when looking through with the core rules is just units. You have to be wholly within 3 inches of a transport to get into them, at least transports with bases. So I think that's a good change. I don't know why that wasn't the case before, because, being able to string a unit along and then pull all of them into the thing, I guess it was just an oversight, and some people likely were just taking advantage of that in tournaments recently, so they cracked down on it. But I also wanted to talk a little bit about the points paradox in 40K. It seems like to me, now that I have so many points, the changes in points matter less to me. It gets a little annoying, I guess, when you have to kind of change your list. Like you get kicked out of 2000, so now you either have to take units away to fit back into it, or if you're on the beneficial side, your points dropped, so now you can actually add a unit. You don't really seem to, I don't tend to, I would like to know what you guys think, but I don't really tend to care about points changes now, especially for Tau, because I have, now I'm in surplus of 3,000 points of Tau. And I know not everyone's in that situation, so I get it. I would be really frustrated when I first started the hobby when points went down, because now it's like, okay, well, now that point went down, my list that I'm planning towards, or maybe I've already bought in units for, no longer meets 2,000 points. So now I either have to buy another unit or trade a unit in order to get to the 2,000 points. And if I'm so far behind, that means that I might not even finish by the next Balanced Data Slate, and my list could be knocked out anyway. So I kind of learned early on that I should just build the units that I like and the units that I want to play, and then when I get to the points value that I need, I'm at the points value I need, and I'll handle it at that point. I also was someone that kind of built along the way and sort of played smaller games along the way, so I kind of knew what units I wanted and didn't want, and that's one thing I would also recommend. But it's just an interesting points paradox. Now that I do have quite a number of points in Tau and honestly Tyranids, it's kind of like, okay, like points change. Like my 2,000 point Tau list dropped by 70 points. I had my 3 broadsides go down by 10, my fire knives go down by 10, and my sunforges go by 10. So I now have 70 points to work with, and I can just, put in a unit I already have, or it gives me another option to add units to it, and I can feel kind of fun, and I can really tweak my list the way that I want. So it's just very fascinating now that I have been in the hobby for enough time to kind of gather those sorts of things, that it's just a fascinating sort of deal. Is it the same for you guys? Do you guys find that now that you maybe have a collection that you're not really so worried about the points changes as much? Is it as much of an issue as it was when you first started the hobby? Is it now more of an issue now that you're later in the hobby than when you first started? I'd be interested to know down in the comments down below. But enough talk about sort of the balance updates and that sort of thing. I do have a little bit of a hobbying update. So in my last video, we obviously revealed my wife's Sisters of Battle army. Thank you guys so much for the reception on that. Since then, I know I talked a little bit about my goals for October and what those might be. I'm still kind of finalizing on that. I think by next video, I'll have definitively what my October goal is going to be. In that time, I've gained 2 new Tyraniid models, one of which is the Tyrannifex. So I have a second Tyrannifex now that I am working on painting. So as you can see, I have his blue skin and the green of his gun and tongue kind of based out. The blue is basically where it's going to be before the washes go on, but I still have to work on the greens and everything. And this was actually a surprise model. I was not expecting to get this model. More on that in a second. But the Norn Emissary, my second Norn Emissary, all the basing and all the, basically the painting portion is done. I do just have to do their base, and I am thinking about doing some milliput and some minor sculpting on the base to give it a bit of a rocky outcrop, and then it'll likely have like a resin pool and that sort of thing. I usually do that with my bigger models just because it's a little bit more fun. But I was expecting to get the Norn. I basically traded some Space Marines for some Tyranid stuff, which was great. And then the person I traded with was basically like, oh, are there any other units or kits from this box that you would like? And I was like, well, I guess I wouldn't mind having another Tyrannifex. So I got a Tyrannifex for free, which is, as per a few videos ago, like, it's a benefit of being part of a community, is that if you have someone that's a bit of an old head that's been in the hobby for a while, a lot of times they're going to have units and kits that they're not using anymore, they don't really want anymore, and they'll be down to trade or sell for cheap. Or honestly, I've gotten some units like this Tyrannifex just for being there and being a player of this army that they're no longer going to use. So yeah, it's been really cool. I'm really excited to get these painted up. As far as moving goes, we're in the process of packing. I won't be packing this stuff up until probably next week. And yeah, so by next Saturday, we'll basically have all of our stuff in our new house, and probably one of my first videos of October is likely going to be sort of a setup video where I kind of go through the setup, maybe just like a time lapse or something. I don't know. If there's anything that you guys would like to see in that regard, just let me know in the comments, and we'll go about it that way. But I think that'll do it for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.